Hello, friends and neighbors. Welcome in. It is another edition of the Matt Murphy Radio Show, underway for another day. Happy to have you with us this Wednesday, also known as Wednesday. That's how you spell it, Jackson. February the 25th, 2026. Happy to have you with us. There's no place like home. The best part about being out and about is getting back to home base. When we do, we appreciate you. We thank you for being out with us, and we'll talk about that a little bit in the first hour today on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I thank you for being a part of the show, whether you spend 5 minutes with us or the full 4 hours. We're here till 7 o'clock tonight, or they kick us off the radio, whichever comes first. It is episode 985 of our gatherings on Super Talk 99.7. Started from noon until 3. Transferred over 3 to 7. I guess last January it was. Or, well, last December, I guess. I can't remember. One way or the other, we're on from 3 until 7 now. I remember that, and we are on 985 of these great episodes. I don't know how many Jackson has been a part of, but I know this. By the way, before I say this, I want to introduce Ken Weaver to the show because I want Ken Weaver to verify what I'm saying is 100% fact-based. Ken Weaver joins us from News Closet B, fresh off an adventure at Legend Steakhouse in Smyrna. Hello, Mr. Weaver.
Oh, yes. How about you, boys?
You still full up?
Yes, sir. Had a big old steak and a whole bunch of mac and cheese.
You had steak?
Yep.
By the time the proceedings were winding down and Jackson and I had the ability to order, we were told that we could order just really anything off the menu. And
yeah,
I went with a chicken quesadilla.
Woo.
Mm-hmm. It was delicious. Absolutely fabulous. Jackson, what did you have over there? You had a burger, if I'm not mistaken. And Jackson requested rolls. He asked for rolls by request because he said some of the best yeast rolls you're ever going to put in your mouth.
I forgot about that. All right, let's go back.
Let's go. Let's do it. The food was great. The fellowship even better. Thank you all for coming out with us. Man, wasn't it a good time, Ken?
It was a blast. I loved it. I love going out live.
I love seeing the folks. I love watching the folks watch us do what we do. I love interacting during the breaks. I love everything about it. I love seeing y'all. I love hugging your neck. And I love getting to see the whole gang. I love getting to see Chris Hand and Dan Mandis and Chad Benson.
Yes, sir.
That was a lot of fun. And let me just thank real quick before I get on to my comment about Jackson. Let me just thank the background crew, AJ, Madison, Mike Buckner, Rich, and everybody else. I'm sure there were more people. Greg, and whomever else was there from the radio station making all of this happen. Paul Mason, a.k.a. New Suit. All of those folks in the background help keep the squirrels running in the right direction, and we appreciate all those folks, too. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time. Ken,
yes, sir.
Did you see the way that people interacted with Jackson Williams?
I did not.
My goodness, my friend. It was, they showered the young man with love.
Well, a lot of people told me they loved Brother Jackson.
They were walking. Right in front of me, Ken, they're saying things like, I didn't really like Matt Murphy before you came along, but now I'm enjoying the show. I'm like, I'm right here. Jackson, these people absolutely love you. For some reason, they don't know the real you, and they love you.
And that's how we'll keep it.
I suppose. Mr. Bill from Hendersonville brought us chicken fingers, most of which I took home. And E made wraps for y'all with said chicken fingers.
Yeah. Thank you, Erica.
That's why. So, by extension, thank you, Mr. Bill from Hendersonville.
Yes, sir.
Because
Mr. Bill, too.
Now you're feeding us today, so we appreciate it. Those will not go to waste, I assure you,
no.
Nor will the other items that Mr. Bill brought me, which I offered to share with you, Jackson, and you turned me down.
Didn't need that in my life.
What are you yawning for, by the way? I know that folks can't see you.
You took me out yesterday, and now I'm sleepy. That's what happens. You got me out of the house yesterday. Now I'm tired.
Jackson got mad because I made him come in early today, kid. Early.
We were going to do the podcast.
We were going to do the podcast, but Cameron was unable to do the All the Best Words podcast, so we'll record that later this week. And but we were here early because we had to cut a spot.
I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. He's like, you got me here early. I'm mad at you. He's not going to be good by 6 o'clock, y'all. Y'all test the man's patience by hitting him up on the telephone lines in the 6 o'clock hour. Because did you do a review of Nincompoops?
I did not yet.
Who won?
Me.
No,
You just
You
said
just said you
haven't-
did not do a review.
Then why would you ask the question?
Because I knew what the answer was going to be.
We're going to have to get an independent party to count these.
We are going to lean on the accounting capabilities of Price Waterhouse. Remember Price Waterhouse? They used to do the Oscars.
That's right.
I think that's right. So maybe if you have an accounting firm out there, if there's an accounting firm in the listening audience, if you're willing to utilize your talents to give us a nice count, a robust count of the votes, I'm going to count them up, Jackson. Don't worry, because even if you went and you counted them from yesterday, I wouldn't believe you anyway, because you'd come at me, you'd say you won, then I've got to go recount. So I'm going to have to count them one way or the other, because I know what you're going to say to us. All right. Unlike Mr. Benson, my favorite part of the speech wasn't Donald Trump saying goodnight. And that's not a slap at Chad. I just heard him say that at the beginning of his show. I thought it was one of Donald Trump's better speeches. It was lengthy. I'm on record as saying this, and I'm going to start off by reminding you my thoughts on the State of the Union, generally speaking. And then I want to talk to you about what Trump is a master at, because he understands the format. He understands the opportunity, and he seizes the opportunity, and he rolls with it. Now, as someone who deals with this every day, and I feel as if you are in the boat with me, we're kind of rowing in the same direction. If you're here on a regular basis, then you know what is going on in the news. You understand where the left is. You understand where the Trump administration is. You understand where some others on the right are on any given issue on any given day. You're up on the news. So I don't think you need a regurgitation of what has gone on over the last year, nor do I think necessarily you need a pep rally. And that's exactly what a State of the Union has become. Donald Trump did not make it so. He has perfected it, but he's not the one that started all of this. This has been a long time coming. The idea of this being a political spectacle has been a long time coming. Predates Trump. Trump is just doing it better. Now, could I do without all of the applause lines? Yes, that's just me. Once again, I do this for a living. Could I do without all of the, partisan wrangling? Sure. And I said last night, there comes a point where we can't keep up this gallery stuff, right? Where, here's another person that's in the gallery, and here's another person that's in the gallery, and here's another person that's in the gallery. And I set the over-under at 6, and Donald Trump destroyed the over-under. I think there were at least 10 people that he pointed out in the gallery last night. But here's where I'll say Donald Trump impressed me. Regardless of how I personally feel about the pomp and circumstance. I'm not here for the pomp and circumstance. And I think many of you would agree with me on that. But Donald Trump is a master at taking something and turning it into something more. He has done it with inauguration speeches. He did it with campaign rallies. And now he is doing it with and any number of other events, political events. He understands how to entertain the people. He understands how to get eyeballs on himself. And he understands how to present his position in a favorable light. But he is also a master at boxing in the idiot Democrats, which he did last night. He has turned the gallery invitation into a political bludgeon. Insanely effective. And the Democrats don't know what to do. They have no idea what to do. Now, what do I mean by that? That is not taking away from the sincerity of the invitations that were offered last evening. And that's not taking away from the sincerity of each individual story that created a dynamic by which those people were invited to begin with. But when you have someone along the lines of Captain Royce Williams, who is a 100-year-old Navy fighter, who was honored with the Congressional Medal of the Medal of Honor, or Chief Warrant Officer Eric, is it Stover, I think? awarded the Medal of Honor for his role in the operation to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro? Or Scott Ruskin or Gary and the Beckstrom family? I don't know the mother's name. These are the parents of the National Guard. Remember Sarah Beckstrom, who was posthumously awarded the Purple Heart? All of these stories are wonderful stories. Erica Kirk was there. The U.S. men's hockey team made an appearance. So what Trump has done, he's looked at this dynamic, and he and his team has said, we are going to elevate this and take it to the next level. And they have. And you do two things very effectively. Number one, you box the Democrats in, and you force them to make a decision. You either have to applaud what is obviously an American hero. You either have to stand up, get off your ass, and applaud someone who served their country admirably and honorably, or you just sit there and look like an idiot. Look like an unpatriotic idiot. But even more than that, in turning these gallery moments into what I would call a political bludgeon, he takes honest moments with real people and he structures them around his public policy. And he points to the American people and says, this is the result of the Democrats' policy, or this is the result of my policy. This is it in human form. When you have the parents of a woman who was killed by an illegal alien in this country, who was serving their country in the National Guard, and you look at the American people and say, the Beckstrom family, they suffer because of Democrat policies. They suffer because of Joe Biden. What I'm trying to do, when they call me a monster, when they say that I'm a racist or a xenophobe because of my continuation of an immigration policy that started long before this administration, but I'm just the only one with the intestinal fortitude, the cojones, if you will, to actually execute it. When they call me every name under the sun, I don't care because I'm standing with the Beckstrom family. They're not. It's masterful. I don't know how effective it will be because I understand that many people have turned the pomp and circumstance of the State of the Union address off, and the mainstream media is never going to give Donald Trump a fair shake with regard to his policies and what his policies mean for the average American. He made the case for the economy last night. I'll give him that. He made the case for his economic policies stabilizing what was a tremendously destabilized economic situation because of Joe Biden and Joe Biden's spending policies during his 4 years in office. He made the case that the border is secure for the first time in who knows how long. He made the case that we're actually making progress with deportations on the immigration front. He made the case that we can do two things at the same time. We can demand peace around the world while demonstrating strength, while demonstrating that nations like Iran are not going to push us around. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with Iran. I don't know what's going to happen with the future of the Middle East, and anybody that tells you that they do, they're lying to you. But based on past experience, Venezuela and Iran, part one, I have faith that the Trump administration can, in fact, thread that needle between peace around the globe and demonstrating American strength in the face of an adversary that wants to destabilize the Middle East and, by extension, the rest of the world. So I'm going to have my cake and eat it, too. I'm going to tell you that the pomp and the circumstance, it doesn't do a lot for me. An hour and 40 whatever minutes of speech time doesn't do a lot for me. But I understand when a master is on his game, and Donald Trump, the circus master, and I say that with love, was on his game last night. And he played the Democrats for fools. You can't stand up. the best moment of the speech, I'll tell you what, we'll take a break, and I will share with you what I thought was the clearest definition of what I'm talking about, of boxing them into a corner with a political bludgeon and forcing them to make a decision. And almost every time, the Democrats made the wrong decision. They decided to sit on their hands and not applaud basic concepts that most Americans agree with. You know what Donald Trump did last night in an hour and 48 minutes? He declared to the American people, y'all, no matter how crazy you think I am, they're crazier than me. No matter whatever you think I might be, whatever ist you might think I might be, whatever bad, nasty, pejorative you might think I might be, they're un-American. They don't have the values that you and I have. They put others in front of you. And they don't truly believe in the democratic process. And for that, I give the man up. I said he might get a B-. I'll give him a B. Solid B. A little too long for me. That's why you don't get an A. 23 minutes after the hour. Speaking of long, I've run long on this segment. Would love to hear from you and your thoughts. 615-737-9986. We'll get the thoughts of Congressman Scott Dejarlais at 3:35 today. Jack Johnson, Senate Majority Leader, will be here at 4:35 today. Cameron Smith in the 5 o'clock hour at Super Talk 99.7 WTN and the Matt Murphy Show. Hey, it's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and you. 28 minutes after the hour. Thank you for being around with us. We've got lots to get into, and I'm curious your thoughts on the aftermath of the State of the Union address, plus a number of guests to tell you about, obviously. 0009 says the speech being long was tactical. It made the Dem response way too late. Nobody. What? No, I disagree 100%. I just disagree with that. I mean, no offense. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Nobody watches the responses anyway. Nobody watches the responses. I mean, sadly, far too few people watch the actual State of the Union. But almost 0% of America. I didn't watch Abigail Spanberger's response. I saw some of the clips today. It's my job to watch her response, and I didn't watch her response. I mean, nobody watches. Nobody watched them if his speech was an hour, nobody would watch. If his speech were 20 minutes, nobody would watch. Donald Trump's speech was as long as it was because he wanted to illustrate the point of his policy positions through individuals in the gallery, and all of those things take time to set up. He also had a lot to talk about, and I think Donald Trump enjoys the command of the room. I think he understands that this is his one shot nowadays outside of social media to cut through the bias of the mainstream press, and he does that effectively during these speeches. They can't cut away from him. They cannot edit him. They cannot try to fact-check him in real time. And he understands that he has the upper hand while he's on that stage. I think that's why he does it. I also think that there's a part of Donald Trump that likes the idea that he's delivered the longest State of the Union speech in American history. I think that pleases him. I mean, but it's not like Donald Trump isn't long-winded anyway. I mean, this is the same guy that would hold like 3-hour campaign rallies, for goodness sake. I did see some of the did you see the alternate, they called it the swamp of the state or the state of the swamp or the state of the union swamp or whatever, the alternate broadcast with all those inflatable frogs? It was very funny. All right, I was getting to Lee, but Lee hung up the phone. I guess that gives me an opportunity to actually go to the news on time. It's 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. To our guest momentarily. By the way, thanks to Justin Owen of the Beacon Center. I forgot, Justin and I scheduled a visit together some time ago, but he's going to be on with us tomorrow at this time. So Justin Owen of the Beacon Center on with us tomorrow at 3:35. Thank you, Justin. We've got Jack Johnson coming up at 4:35 this afternoon. Cameron Smith in his usual place on these Wednesdays in the 5 o'clock hour and beyond on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Before we introduce our next guest, this was my favorite moment of the night. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about Donald Trump boxing in more on Democrats.
So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens, Donald Trump says. Stand up and applaud if you agree with me. All the Republicans in the room, just about all of the gallery in the room, they're standing, they're applauding. The Democrats, they're sitting on their hands. A man who was there in the gallery watching it all unfold, Congressman Scott Dejarlais, joins us on the Matt Murphy Show to give his thoughts and reflect on last evening. Congressman, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, he packed a lot in for the longest State of the Union ever. He definitely covered a lot of ground, but I would have to agree that the Democrats will regret that moment. And the brilliance of it was, it's terrible optics, but he just let it go. And it felt like 10 minutes that we all stood and cheered, and they wouldn't stand up. And it just, it was one of those seminal moments, I guess, that I think is going to be used over and over in campaign ads and going into the fall. So major blunder on their part.
Well, and I commented at the beginning of the show, Scott, and I'm curious your thoughts on this too. I've seen a lot of State of the Union addresses, and for the most part, over my lifetime, the gallery invitations and the gallery references have been, kind of unifying references to individuals that have acted in a heroic fashion, or military personnel, or folks who have gone through some issue related to public policy. Donald Trump does this better than anybody that I've seen, where he's not only highlighting an individual's American experience, whether it's through the United States military or through public policy experience, but he's also calling out the political opposition to the public policy that put them in a positive situation or put them in a negative situation. In other words, he uses it as a political wedge against his political rivals, and I think he does it more brilliantly than any politician I've seen.
Yeah, Donald Trump has a little bit of a tendency to ramble on every now and then and go off script, and he was pretty much on message the entire night. And I agree. I've never seen such a great variety of gallery guests, and they just kept rolling them out. Out of this corner would pop a Medal of Honor winner, and they brought out the National Guardsman from Washington, and the 100-year-old pilot who got his Medal of Honor, and the little girl that was hit by the trucker with illegal CDL in California, and just on and on and on. It was like, how could you not stand for any of these people? And the little girl from Ukraine that got her throat cut on the train in Charlotte, the
her
mother
parents. Oh, my goodness.
A lot of them, they didn't stand for that.
I know.
And it's just like, they did for some, but it was almost like hard not to stand for almost every one of those guests that were put in the gallery. And you're right, he brought in just a great group of Americans, and used it masterfully.
So on the policy front, he highlighted, I think he laid out the case for his economic agenda, economic policy over the last 12 months during his first year in office, after 4 years of what is clearly a disastrous Joe Biden administration. I think he made his case to the American people. Do you think for those that are in the mushy middle, did he make the case for those people? Because I said before the speech last night, Scott, that economics is a dangerous game. Talking economic policy is dangerous, because if my wallet's empty, then it kind of rings hollow. But if my savings account's looking fuller and fuller as the days, weeks, and months go on, then that kind of resonates more positively with me.
Right, and I totally agree that it is a slippery slope. The Dow hit 50 and the S&P hit 7,000, but how the market can fluctuate. And the one thing that I don't think he did as good a job explaining, and that's the whole affordability issue that the Democrats have been winning with, because you don't really see a big drop in your grocery bills, or you don't see car prices coming down or housing prices coming down. And so even though the rate of inflation has definitely flattened and he's doing a great job there, I think everybody was somehow expecting things to get cheaper, and they really haven't. You go through a drive-in or, out to eat, and things really are expensive, and so you're not seeing this. But as long as the market does well and people's 401ks are going up, then they're going to start to feel it. And it's just, I think he needed to explain that things may not be getting cheaper, but they're not getting more expensive. They were going up and up and up, and they flattened. And a lot of times they don't come down, and you just have to get used to it because companies figure, well, if people are willing to pay this, we're just going to leave the prices the same. So, yeah, that part of it, didn't ring through as much as you'd want. But for Trump, he was pretty hard on the Democrats. There's a lot of Democrats I work with. I consider them friends. I talked with them and was asking them, this morning and whatnot, whether they'd gotten over being a punching bag last night. Because, he was going after them pretty hard. And in all honesty, even the ones that I work with, and, they could vote for some of this stuff that we're putting out there, like the SAVE Act and things that make sense. A lot of them don't. You look at people like John Fetterman, who seems to be one of the only rational Democrats. I never thought I'd
who had that? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but who had that on your bingo card, right? That John Fetterman would be considered the most reasonable Democrat in the Senate.
And so, he went after him pretty hard. He didn't build any bridges, and I'm going to give him an A- because I think there is a chance that or an opportunity to kind of build some bridges there. But my favorite zinger of the night, and I don't know how many people caught it, but they talked about members of Congress not buying stocks and doing insider trading. And, everyone stood up. He goes, oh, look at there. Even the Democrats stood up. How about Nancy Pelosi? Did you stand up? She's the worst abuser of it. And I thought that was a pretty good swipe.
No, that's good. I didn't catch it. I'll have to go back and look at it because that's awesome. Anytime you can zing Pelosi, Miss Speech Ripper herself, I think that's a good zinger. What is just a quick aside here from the content of the speech? How do you describe for those who have never been there? What is it like in the body, knowing that millions upon millions upon millions of people are watching at home? What is the experience like being in the chamber?
It's different on different years. Of course, if you're listening to Joe Biden, it can be a snoozer. I think some of Trump's speeches in his first term were kind of rambling. Last night, he kept my attention from front to back, and so I praise him for staying on message. But it's you see all kinds of different people from walks of life, different guests, and so before the speech, or you walk around, you run into people, you talk to maybe former members, cabinet members, guests, their overseas guests, ambassadors, whatnot. So. I'll have to have you up there, and you can
love it.
You can check it out for yourself. But it's a lot of course, standing up and sitting down if it's your guy in the chair. But I didn't think for it being the longest speech ever, it seemed that long, to be honest. And I would say one other thing that I don't know if anyone else picked up on this, but I was kind of watching J.D. Vance's expression when Trump was praising Marco Rubio, and Marco Rubio got a roaring applause. And you think, okay, who's going to run for president in 28? See, most likely going to be Rubio and J.D. Vance. And I was kind of watching him, and I wouldn't say I spotted any jealousy or anything, but Rubio clearly got a warm response, and I got to believe that got J.D.'s attention just a little bit.
It's funny. Well, it's funny you bring this up, Congressman, because in our State of the Union preview at our Stake of the Union event, it was a packed house last night in Smyrna. At our Stake of the Union, which we held at Legends Steakhouse, we were talking about this prior to the speech, and somehow we got onto a discussion about Secretary of State Marco Rubio versus Vice President J.D. Vance. And there's an expectation that, those are our two frontrunners, right? Those are the two guys for 2028 when Donald Trump is concluding his final year of his second term. And I'm very curious because I think Marco Rubio's stock has gone up considerably as Secretary of State. Now, we love J.D. Vance. They bring different attributes to the table. So I'm not picking a side here. I'm not picking a horse. I'm just like you, very interested in how that all is going to shake out.
Yeah, I just the moment struck me, I guess, the warm response that Marco got. And he's been around, and, of course, he ran against Trump back in 2016 and all that. But J.D., you're right. He's a very likable guy, and he's young, and he's going to learn an awful lot over the next few years, and heck, maybe maybe it's a 1-2 punch. I don't know, but they'd be on the same ticket.
Yeah,
but,
maybe so.
Anyways, it just crossed my mind, so I guess it did yours too.
What is the most important thing of all of the items that Donald Trump perhaps addressed last evening? What is the most important thing? There's one that I almost want to tell you can't pick, but I'm going to leave it open. What's the most important thing that Congress has to get done before we really get into the midterm? I mean, because once we get into midterms,
if we don't pass the SAVE Act, I think that
that's the one I almost took away. That's the one I almost took away from you. But it is the SAVE Act, right? I mean, it's clear.
Yeah. 71% of Democrats believe you should be able to prove that you're a citizen and that you should show ID. 73% of Hispanics, 74% of African Americans, 95% of Republicans. I don't know who the 5% would be that don't. But anytime you get something that you average 80+% of America thinks that you should show an ID and you should prove that you're an American to vote, and somehow, like Trump said, the only reason that you would not want to do that is because you want to cheat. And I mean, hell, they probably still cheat by getting fake IDs and things like that. They do it all the time, but it would make it a lot harder. And it makes so much sense. And in the mail-in ballot process in California, where you got mail that's being postmarked a week or two late, and they're allowing them to cure ballots and count ballots for 2 or 3 months until you got some Republican who's winning by 9,000, all of a sudden is losing by 100, and then they call the race. That's got to be fixed. I think the survival of our elections is going to rely on that passed. And I don't know how the Senate, people, Fetterman maybe can work on some of his comrades there, but America needs to speak loud and proud about that one.
Congressman, you're always great with your time, gracious with your time. You know how much we appreciate your representation of the state of Tennessee. I want to leave you with this before we have to go. I received a message during our conversation. It came in about 5 minutes ago on our super text line, and I just want to share it with you. And I don't know who it's from except to say we count them off by number if we don't see a name. 1972 is written in and says, Representative Scott Dejarlais holds a special place in my family's heart. He recently nominated my son to the Air Force Academy and the Naval Academy. My family and my son will forever be in your debt, sir. Thank you for believing in my son. He will not let this country, this state, or you down.
Well, thank you to them. I wish I knew their name, but I thank him or her for being willing to serve. I guess they said son. So we send some great Americans to the service academies, and I'm so grateful that they're willing to make that sacrifice for us.
Well, we appreciate you. I just wanted to leave you on that positive note. And
thank you. That was very kind.
Well, you know how much we value you coming on the show, and we'll do it again next time and continue to serve well up there in Congress. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, take care. There's Scott Dejarlais joining us for a few moments, giving his reflections on the speech. It's 53 after the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.